After exploring two of the most stunning abandoned churches of Belgium in the last episode, we are continuing our journey with the type of lost places Belgium is usually known for. Welcome to Forgotten Industrial Heritage of Belgium. Our first location was actually not planned and just a backup plan. We initially wanted to check out a little time capsule house where even the car was left behind, but due to suspicious neighbors, we had to abort that plan. The footage on screen right now is taken from Forgotten Buildings video of the location. I also put a link to it in the description. Back to industry. Our spontaneous backup location ended up being a giant power plant, where we slowly had to work our way through to the turbine hall. The power plant is actually just a smaller part of a giant steel mill. The locals discovered the first iron ore deposits in the 18th century, and the first blast furnace was set up here in the 1760s. The power plant, which you are watching now, was added later on to keep up with the power needed for the ever-growing steel mill. I'm not that familiar with the technical details about all these gauges and pipes, but these seem to be for cooling the vaporized water down, which came from the turbines, so that it can be used again for cooling in a closed loop. Before we headed to the turbine hall, we checked out another room on the very top of the building. This room is for filtering the exhaust gases, and the very last step before the fumes are leaving the factory. From here, we also get a great view of the blast furnace where the steel was produced. Let's get to the point, shall we? The giant turbine hall housed 5 turbines of varying ages and output. The oldest and smallest were capable of producing 6.5 megawatts, while the big Cyan Feller produced a stunning 75 megawatts, being over 11 times more powerful than his little brother. What they all have in common is that they were powered using a mixture of natural gas and coke gas, a side product of coke production. Another neat detail is the reason behind the giant glass wall on the side of the hall. Due to the risk of explosions in here, the glass is a kind of breakaway security measure where the extra pressure could get out quickly. All these turbines were controlled via 3 control rooms, 2 of which we found. And, well, I blame the spontaneous nature of this exploration, but on Discord quite a few people were making fun of us for missing the big and really fancy main control room. It was not even hard to find. To this day, I wonder how all 4 of us missed it. These pictures were taken by Nathan, who we would meet just a day later, but I will get back to that. It was getting dark at this point, and we had to move on to our next location. Therefore, we couldn't check out the steel mill itself, but luckily for us, the next location was a steel mill as well. This is HFB, and this is possibly the biggest abandoned site of Europe. We only had a few hours for this exploration, whilst the site could provide different sites for several days. So don't expect a very in-depth explanation of everything. We ourselves felt more like overwhelmed tourists here, but had a blast checking this legendary location off the bucket list. The only real highlight we had to check out specifically, and of which I can tell you something, is the giant blast furnace in the heart of the site. In a blast furnace, fuel, which is usually coke, the ore, which is usually iron, and flux, which are purifying materials, are continuously supplied through the top of the furnace. This is the giant tower you can see, which we obviously had to climb on very slowly, fearing for our lives on pretty much every single step of the rusty stairs.
I mean, I'm not that at ease. I mean, I like it, but I felt safer.
Yeah. Whilst these materials are supplied, a hot blast of air is blown into the lower part, so that the chemical reaction takes place throughout the furnace as the material falls down. The result is a continuous stream of molten metal and slag at the bottom, and waste gases exiting through the pipes at the top. Due to this method, the furnace could never stop. The instant it stops producing, the pig iron inside will harden and basically ruin the whole factory. This is exactly what happened to this beauty of a blast furnace about a decade ago, when the economical crisis and the ever-growing competition from Asia forced the plant to close. All of this is just a very glimpse of all the technology going on here. But since I don't want to overstay your attention span, I will let you go now. After all, in the next episode, we will continue our journey through Europe's former industrial giants as we venture on to France and explore with Nathan, aka Industry Explorer, a Frenchman who really knows what he's talking about. If you like this series and you wanna support me in the creation, please head over to my website. You can get pictures of this episode or any previous locations either as a digital download in 4K or printed on paper, canvas and even your smartphone cover. Thanks for supporting the show.